held in accordance with the public laws of 1975, Chapter 231. An adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by notice sent to the Asbury Park Press, 2 River Times, and Star Ledger, and posted in the main lobby of the municipal building and on the municipal website. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Jackson,
Here.
Councilmember Morandi. Councilmember Sturdivant,
Present.
Councilmember Trigiano is excused, Councilmember Ballard
Bill.
also excused, and Councilmember Ziprich.
Present.
We have quorum, sir.
Oops. Huh, I never knew it did that.
Unusually.
Was that me?
Must have been.
Learning something new. All right, we have some proclamations. And the first one is a proclamation honoring my colleague, Councilman Ed Ziprich. Whereas Ed began his career with the city of New York during the administration of Mayor Edward I. Koch. Ziprich's career included law firm administration, holding management positions in the AmLaw 100 firms, Sullivan and Cromwell, Debevoise, is that how you say it? Debevoise, all right, and Plimpton, Blank, Rome, Tenzer, Greenblatt, and whereas in 2008, Ziprich was elected to the Red Bank Borough Council, serving as the first openly gay member of the governing body. In 2013, Councilman Ziprich was nominated to run for the New Jersey Assembly in the 11th District. He's in his 5th term on the Borough Council and served as council president in 2018. And whereas, as a lifelong Democrat, Ziprich volunteered on his first presidential campaign in 2004 for Vermont Governor Howard Dean, and later became Monmouth County Chairman of Democracy for America, the DFA. He's been an active member of New Jersey for Democracy, Garden State Equality, the Bus for Progress, and served as president of the NJ Stonewall Democrats over the years. Ed is also a founding member of the New Jersey Progressive Alliance and the New Jersey Democratic LGBTQ Caucus. And whereas Councilman Ziprich served as Democratic Municipal Chair in Red Bank for 12 years. During that time, he was responsible for strengthening the Democrats' presence on the Borough Council. In his final term as Democratic Chair, he presided over the 4th re-election of Mayor Pasquale Mena, the election of the first Muslim American to win a seat on Red Bank Council, while also helping to elect the first bisexual member of council. And whereas Ed also served as Regional Vice Chair of the Monmouth Democratic Party and has been elected 3 times to serve as delegate to the Democratic National Convention in 2012 for Obama, 2016 for Clinton, and 2020 for Biden. And whereas he and his husband, JP Nicolaides, are the proud parents of a daughter, Mary Kate, who resides in Somerville, Massachusetts, with her husband, Aaron. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, New Jersey, do hereby present this proclamation to Councilman Edward Ziprich in recognition of his dedication and service to the citizens of the Borough of Red Bank, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 14th day of June, 2023. And on behalf of
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
14 years is a hell of a run, sir.
Yeah, 17 all in, but who's counting?
17. Who counting?
Oh, it's done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I instinctively looked at the bigger camera instead of the smaller.
That's good. Always
Better picture, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation in honor of Juneteenth.
Excuse me, Mayor. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
This is Councilwoman Jacqueline Sturdivant. I apologize. I thought there were going to be some things said about Ed Zipperidge. And Ed, I just want to say to you, I really appreciate your leadership in terms of politics and also the Democratic Party within Red Bank and also Monmouth County. And also your focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially on the council, and a lot of roles that people have had. And also, you know, from here on out, it's been a really true great support that you have in terms of mentoring young politicians, be it Republican or Democrat or independent, but your focus on that in terms of the democratic process is greatly appreciated. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Appreciate it.
Mayor, another word, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Councilman Zipperidge, you've had a long term as a civil servant, and I would just like to briefly say, not only thank you for your years of service, but the one consistent thread throughout your entire career is how much you have cared about our town. So I want to thank you for your consistent and unwavering dedication to our home, not only as a Red Bank resident, but as a Red Bank leader and a leader in the Democratic Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Hey, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll save it for the end, but thank you.
Okay, proclamation for the Borough of Red Bank in honor of Juneteenth. Whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, setting in motion the end of slavery in the United States. And whereas the Civil War ended with the surrender of General Lee at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9th, 1865. And whereas this news reached Texas when Union General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston Bay with Union troops. It was on June 19th, 1865, that he announced the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. Whereas celebration of the end of slavery, which became known as Juneteenth, is the oldest known public celebration of the end of slavery in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth commemorates African-American freedom and celebrates the successes gained through education and greater opportunity. And whereas on a larger scale, celebration of Juneteenth reminds each of us of the precious promises of freedom, equality, and opportunity, which are at the core of the American dream. And whereas Juneteenth 2023 will be celebrated in Red Bank on June 18th, 2023 at Johnny Jazz Park, commencing at 1 p.m. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, on behalf of the Borough Council, do hereby proclaim June 18th as a day to celebrate Juneteenth 2023 and urge all citizens to join in this celebration. We have one more for Flag Day. Whereas in the United States, Flag Day is celebrated on June 14th, a day upon which we should direct our minds with a special desire of renewal to thoughts of the ideals and principles of which we have sought to make our great democracy the embodiment. And whereas Flag Day commemorates the adoption of the flag of the United States on June 14th, 1777, by resolution of the Second Continental Congress. And whereas the flag resolution passed on June 14th, 1777 stated, resolved that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. And whereas the flag represents the proud history of America, our comprehension of the greater mission of liberty and justice to which we have devoted ourselves as a people, our pride in the history and our determination to make it greater with each generation. And whereas our flag serves as a reminder to us and to the world that America stands for and strives for the promise of freedom, justice, and equality for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby urge our citizens to pause during this day to rededicate themselves to the principles and ideals for which our flag stands. And witness whereof I am hereunto set my hand this 14th day of June, 2023. We don't have any presentations. I'm going to let's go to public comments on agenda items only. Agenda items only.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Ed for his years of service to this town. Every single Democrat, every single resident of Red Bank should be grateful for all that you have done. I hope that you are, you'll enjoy retirement from the council, but I hope that you'll walk away knowing how deeply respected you are and how much you have done for this town. Thank you. And I just want to also thank the outgoing council members, Michael Ballard, who was in here, Jacqueline, who's on the box there, Angela and Randy, Michael Ballard. Oh, and sorry, please, John Jackson. Having run for election, I had no idea how hard that was going to be. I mean, I can't even imagine the time involved and the dedication and perspiration in serving the town. So to everyone who's outgoing, thank you. Thank you for all you've done. I wish the new council the very best. Please take good care of Red Bank. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Bowens, 135 Ranch Avenue. I was surprised to see this addition to the resolutions. Since I didn't have a chance to study it and understand it thoroughly. I mean, I do understand it, but to find the ramifications and to spend time studying Rossi law, I'm going to ask if the attorney could explain the ins and outs of Rossi, what's good for Red Bank and what's not good for Red Bank on Rossi. I believe that once the state takes over, the state takes over. I want you to explain it to us because I think everyone needs to know. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to explain the entirety of the law to you, but it'll be preserved in a way that's more difficult to undo. And there will have to be some public access to the property.
The public access means everyone in the state of New Jersey can use our building and our gym in that building. They can use the bathrooms in that building. They can use anything on that piece of property. Am I not correct?
I wouldn't phrase it that way. There's certainly.
Am I sure of it? I am saying.
Please let me finish my answer before you interrupt. Thank you. I haven't interrupted you. Please don't interrupt me. There's certainly requirements that you can set. You can set times. We could make an argument that the gym is a public health risk if people use it unsupervised, so we can close the gym at certain times when there's nobody there to supervise, so that you would have to have reasonable public access to a portion of the property, but you would not have to have the entirety of the property open at all times.
And that is in the law. Or is that your interpretation of the law, or is that what this is meant to do? I just don't
understand what you mean by that.
Well, I did read parts of the law before the planning board last week. And my understanding is that it becomes totally under the auspices of the state at that point in time. And they can set the rules and regulations, not Red Bank. And they are basically in charge. They can be laissez-faire about the whole thing and let us just do what we want. But chances are they're not going to, because that's not the way government works. And that's the first part of my statement and question. And I don't think you gave me a very complete answer, because I think this was done in such a hurry that it's not completely accurate and it's not completely appropriate at this point in time. The other part of my question is, how did this get done in 12 seconds? I mean, it wasn't on, I looked on and printed out my copy earlier today, And then I looked at it later on again, and there was nothing, this was never announced to the public until we got here. So basically, there's 7 of us here that know about it. I think that's a problem. I just don't understand. And are there any other ways to, I know that the end goal is to perpetuate the wildlife section of the 1 minute, okay, of the property, and the piece that was not bifurcated by the planning board the other day. I know that's, you wanted to, that's the end goal, but how does that affect the use of the property by the people of Red Bank? Just explain it to me.
Local government can set fees for reserving it at certain times. They can set hours for it. Has to be reasonable public access to it. They can provide a comparable facility if they're closing it for a certain period of time. If somebody books it, they can give people another space to use it. There's a lot of
So
flexibility.
it's going to become an event space for anybody in the state, not just people who live in Red Bank.
I think that's what I said. I said that the local government can set terms for how to.
And that is in the law, that the local government can set that, and the state can't overdo it.
That is a regulation.
In the regulation, yes. I don't. Thank you.
So building on what you said, and if the local, so let's say that we set the regulation that the property is open from 9 to 1. During that time period, when it's open for our seniors, anybody has access to the property. Is that?
I think we could say that it's access for that purpose at that time, and we could make a different place available at that time. I mean, the regulation speaks specifically about reasonable public access shall not include access to facilities such as golf courses and swimming pools that require operation by employees or representatives. We could decide that we don't want people unsupervised in the building, and there needs to be a representative there. So we can only allow public access during those times. So there's certainly ways that we could, the borough could decide to,
I guess any part of the building that we're gonna open for our seniors at that point, that same part of the building would be open for the public. So if you're saying, okay, we're gonna have someone supervising the seniors using the gym equipment, at that point, anybody could also be using the gym equipment with the seniors. Is that what I'm?
I think that we would likely be able to reserve it for seniors during times and say that we can offer different facilities for people. If somebody says, I want to be able to, hold a meeting, why can't I reserve the senior center? You could say, well, we can do these other, 3 locations you can pick between them. So I don't think that we would have to give everyone access to it at all times. We could certainly set times that, we would want to restrict it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Steve and then Cindy.
Stephen Hack, 135 Branch Avenue. I had the pleasure of attending the opening of the senior center last week, and it is indeed beautiful. And I hope it will have a long and illustrious future. I wanted to urge the council. I see in several places that there are requests for donations in kind of things to the senior center, filing cabinets and pool billiard equipment and pots and pans for that beautiful, wonderful, sparkling new kitchen. I wanted to urge the council to please fund the senior center so that they don't have to be hat in hand asking for things like filing cabinets and pots and pans for lunches to be cooked and several other things that are part and parcel of their programmatic needs. They're not just add-ons like books and magazines and flower pots and what have you. And if the senior center administration is looking for handouts, then somehow it seems to me that it's not being adequately funded. And I just wanted to call that to the attention of the council. and to ask you to fully fund the program that it deserves, that our seniors deserve, and that this beautiful new facility deserves. So thank you for that. One other thing, and I don't want to exhaust my time, with respect to the resolution 2023-164, which is the issue of putting the senior center on the Rossi. My concern at the moment is the process that allowed this to happen once again, where in whatever the format is, somebody was able to stick this on to the agenda with no public notice until we got here. So going forward, I hope that the new council will make that impossible. This is certainly not an emergency. I recognize there aren't emergencies. This is no emergency. This is just a goodbye reference. And I will urge the new council to make that impossible to happen.
Thank you, Cindy.
Good evening, Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. Marine Park, I said that at I think the planning board meeting, Marine Park is a Green Acres park. And it's a Green Acres funded park, which means they used Green Acres money. So it really should be stricter. Green Acres should be stricter with Marine Park, but they're not. Maple Cove was put on the Rossi. No problems with government, as long as you do the right thing, which is you don't use the parking lot for staging, you take care of the open space, no problem. So, just putting it on the Rossi they're not going to be out telling you can't do things. I've had a lot of experience with things that are put on the Green Acres Rossi, and it's not a state takeover. The borough still owns the property. And like the attorney said, you can set rules. Now, Atlantic Highlands, their senior center is in the middle of their harbor. And that is all on the Rossi. Never a problem. And maybe you would like to talk to a Monmouth County Park Commissioner about that. If you do decide you want to, anybody wants to talk to Mike Harmon, who is, I think you met him. You met him at Chris's Landing. And he could tell you all about the Rossi and, his experience with having it on the harbor and their senior citizen center. But actually, now that I think about it, it could be good because it could bring in more income. Like I know people want to rent a room or they want to have a meeting of some sort. There's no room at the library. Where do you go? You could go to the senior center.
Couldn't you do that anyway?
I don't know.
I mean, right now, couldn't we just say, well, we're gonna rent out rooms there for meetings?
I don't know. Yeah. But I know that everything would be fine on the Rossi. That's what I'm trying to tell you, that, yeah, it's going to be harder to sell, but that's what we're trying to do. We want to maintain that it's not going to be sold. And, it is a double lot. I cleaned up one side of it, but you've got a whole nother side of slope and land.
But I think, just to be clear, this is placing the entire property on the Rossi, including the
Right.
senior center, yeah.
Right, I know that.
Okay.
And once it's on the Rossi, we can get grants. Monmouth Conservation, Monmouth County Parks. I think he told you that there was a lot of money for grants. And they want us to have them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment for agenda items only?
Hi there, Christina Monotakis, 122 Riverside Avenue. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the same issue, adding the entire senior center property to the Rossi. I think Barbara mentioned, I'm concerned that this came up so last minute. I was looking at the agenda as well. And that the text changed so late is a big concern. This seems very rushed to me, not very transparent, but I do have some questions too. Is there a cost to the borough to the center on the Rossi? I mean, the direct costs?
I don't believe there's an application fee. It doesn't list one in the discussion of the application, but there could be a minimal application fee. I don't know.
Is it possible that there would be indirect costs of ongoing
I'm
administration?
not going to speculate on the administrative costs. I have no idea.
I mean, I just looked, because I've read this over as well, or looked into it. It's a 143-page document that governs the restrictions on Rossi properties. Now, some of those rules are for the funded as opposed to unfunded. This wouldn't be subject to all of them, but that's a lot to go through whenever we make a programming change, decide to do anything. There are things about the signs. If we were, as you say, to impose a fee structure that would help us control to some extent the public access, the when, the where, the I believe from what I read very quickly that would have to go through the DEP and be approved through some kind of process on their side. So I'm very concerned about what this does. And my big question is why? Why would we do this? What do we get? Can anyone answer that? Without an answer, I guess I have to fall back a little bit on what Ms. Burnham mentioned, that it's to avoid hypothetical sale of the property to protect it. From what? And I don't know though, it's the thing. I'm not gonna read. I don't understand why we would do this for no benefit to the residents of this town. Why it would add needless administrative burdens and costs, restrictions to this property for no tangible benefit. That's all. Thank you.
I just want to see if anyone else wants to talk to you, then you can certainly go again. Anyone else? No, okay.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace. There is no cost to putting this on the Rossi. I mean, Marine Park is a funded Green Acres Park. And yes, there are rules, but you are allowed to do certain things. Now, we have a permit parking for the hospital down there. We have parking for boondocks down there. You're not supposed to have that. But guess what? We do. And is the government coming down on us? No. Not unless somebody calls and complains. So there is no cost to this. There are no administrative costs. It used to be so much easier. I mean, these folks are making it so hard. It used to be you just survey it, you put it on the Rossi list. You remember Darren, right? Don't you remember? I mean, Maple Cove just went on and, you know, there is no cost. The government isn't going to do anything. And it just, the better way to save the property. I mean, yeah, there's a reason why these properties are on the Rossi. It's protection. You could have deed restricted Maple Cove. They could have deed restricted Marine Park. I think Riverside Gardens is on the Rossi too. And I do think Count Basie Park, now that you mention it, is on the Rossi too. And that's a Green Acres funded park. So, you know, in order to save everything, this is, I feel, the right way to go personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Hill, 64 McLaren Street. I'm sorry, I think I forgot to say that the first time, but still me. All right, I'm looking at the Rossi. Yes, Maple Cove, Veterans Park, East Side Park, Riverside Gardens Park. Johnny Jazz, these are all on the Rossi. Has anyone, Chief McConnell, have there been any issues that you can recall with any of the properties that are already on the Rossi with the state?
In the last 2 years, I've had conversations with the state looking for guidance on certain rules. And that's about it. I can't give anything specific in the last 2 years.
Thank you. I'd also like to point out that the reason we're here tonight, the reason why this is being considered is because last week, the planning board, in its wisdom, decided not to subdivide this lot. If they had subdivided the lot, guess what? We could have just put the back that's fronting the swimming river on the Rossi, but they chose not to do that. So that's why we're here. That's why we need this. I strongly urge you to protect this property because the last time the senior center was literally underwater, the effort that had to go in from citizens of Red Bank to get this saved is ridiculous. So please vote to save this property. Put it on the Rossi and don't pretend you don't know why we need to do it.
The only difference I see between this property and all the other ones you named is the other ones are all parks. It seems like you guys fought a however many year campaign to save the senior center.
Mhm.
And now you're giving it away. It's no longer going to be just a senior center. It's going to be a public use facility that's anybody can use. I mean, if you wanted to do that, we could just make it a community center and have everyone use it.
Why don't you go back to the planning board and ask them to reconsider their decision to subdivide the property? Because then we wouldn't need to do that, Mayor.
But are you punishing the town because the planning board didn't subdivide the property?
Well, first of all, I think that was a poor decision, but this is the alternative. This is what we're left with to protect the property.
But we had on the agenda a deed restriction for the property. That was up until, I don't know, a couple hours ago. That was what we were going to be discussing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but and I guess the attorney would know best, the deed restriction does not provide the protection that Rossi does. I might be incorrect.
I think it would certainly be harder to get it removed from the Rossi than to just remove the deed restriction.
Okay, thank you. It's a beautiful piece of property. Do not let this go unprotected.
Yes.
For your assets.
Yes, and I agree. I was quite prepared to vote right if it was a tie, but I was supporting a deed restriction. I think that's the proper way to do it. I'm not even clear how the original plan is subdivided. And just explain this to me. So let's say the planning board said we're going to subdivide it and the back half is going on the Rossi. How does that protect the senior center from being sold?
Well, it doesn't, except for the fact that that would mean that the seniors, this is my understanding, please, I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong.
I've been attorney if the two ministers here are getting this wrong.
I believe that then the lot, if it were subdivided, the lot that remains that the senior center is on becomes undersized. And is that not correct, folks?
I'm not sure if that's the
Okay.
case or not, but it would certainly be, the rear portion would be protected in the same way you would have.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we had someone on the planning board.
Mayor too.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
Mayor,
Yes.
planning board.
But even if it's undersized, so it would does that make it less desirable to build on?
Yeah,
Because from a development perspective, if you told me I could build apartments with river views and the tenants there would have complete access to this beautiful public space behind it, to me, that makes it more desirable of a property, but I don't know, that was just my view on it.
so
I do like deed restricting it. I think that's the way to go.
I understand what you're saying, Mayor. I appreciate that you're saying that you want to support and treasure that beautiful piece of property. I just think that this is the way to go about it. If we don't do the Rossi and we do a deed restriction, that can be overturned in 2 months. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Alan Hale, 64 McLaren Street. This is a point of information, actually. Rooms at the senior centre are already being rented out to outside bodies. It was reported by the recreation department that, you know, they're making those rooms available for outside organisations to practice, in this case, choir, I believe. So, you know, people behind me are saying, oh, we'll make it access, you know, let people outside the town into the senior centre. It's already happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Nancy Blackwood, 34 Chestnut Street. I'm sorry I was late to the meeting. I was at a mini conference learning about government ethics and how to make government more efficient and effective. Anyway, I come here now and I see that there's a deed restriction that was on the agenda, and I read that. There was no problem with it. And then there's this resolution to put the entire senior center on the Rossi. And based on the questions back and forth I've been seeing is that nobody really knows the true impact of putting this property on the Rossi. As Christina mentioned, it's a 143-page document. I want to know who's read that 143-page document and have come to the conclusion that this would be best. And part of my concern about this is that there's a conspiracy theory that has been floating around for years that this property is going to be sold. If I'm not mistaken, back in 2021, when the whole senior center issue really started to bubble up, there was a resolution stating that we do protect our seniors, we do protect our community assets, specifically for that of our waterfront assets. And there is no one in this town that would like to see the senior center sold. So personally, I think that this is not a good use of government time. I don't think it's effective and efficient to support a conspiracy theory, and I think it's really bad government, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Nancy, I'll be happy to send you the article from the Real Estate Journal, where Zia Chadi was interviewed about that particular piece of
It was not
property.
interviewed about that particular property. That
I'll send you the article.
2019. Please do not address me.
Yes.
Your bio. According to council bylaws.
Yes, Nancy. Nancy, can you please just,
I'm fine.
yeah, no, I'm sure you're fine. I'm just asking you to stop the back. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Laura Janelle, 105 East Bergen Place, Red Bank, New Jersey. I was at the same meeting today, and I think we learned a lot about transparency and why this was put on. Like when nobody knew about it, I didn't know anything about it. I've also heard the conspiracy theories for so long. It's not true. I don't think it's true. What I know is that there were some plans to maybe put some senior affordable housing above that senior center, which to me, being 68, maybe that would have worked for me at some point in my life too, but this is just rushed as usual, and there's no transparency, and it's just laid out here very quickly when all we were at meetings all day today trying to learn about government, and this is not correct. Thank you.
Attorney, what is the actual process? In other words, do we, once this is voted on, it's a done deal? I mean, doesn't the state have some kind of guidance and process we have to go through with them?
Certainly, I think the way that it's drafted is to authorize yourself as well as the clerk to make an application to amend it, to add it to it. So we'd have to draft that application, include the required information. And then the DEP can decide to say that they want to have a public hearing on it because they don't think there's enough information, they can accept it. And then I think afterwards you'd have to record it with the county clerk as well, to make sure that it's on the Rossi register.
Okay. So the resolution is just stating that the council wants to place this on the Rossi, and then that would allow us to proceed with whatever that.
Yeah, I think it authorizes you and the clerk to make an amendment and then do whatever else is required, make the filings with the county clerk and do all the other steps that would be required.
Thank you. Any other public comments, agenda items? No.
Borough engineer?
Well, I mean, it's gonna come up again in the actual, when we get to the resolution in the agenda, wherever that is, I don't know.
It's a question. Might want to talk to.
Yeah, I think that'll, right. I mean, sure, we could,
In his first rocks.
what's that? Right. Well, I guess you have a specific question for Ed Herman?
Oh, but if they have all these
Right.
questions, so I thought address it to the borough engineer and he may be able to answer.
Sure, we could do that. Hey, Ed, you there?
I am here, Mayor.
Hey, can you answer all the questions that people just brought up in the last 30 minutes? No,
So I can throw out a couple pieces of information. So the minor subdivision plan that was proffered before the planning board, there was a question about the remaining land parcel, but the subdivision as proposed had the senior center parcel with the building on it was going to be fully conforming. The only variance relief that was needed would be for the undersized rear portion at the riverside, and it didn't have any legal frontage. So those were the two variances that would be needed if the subdivision was proffered. What were the other specific questions?
I mean, that's a big one to me. So then I guess I go back to how does this protect the senior center from being sold by placing the back portion on the Rossi? If it's a fully conforming lot, I think you're making it more attractive to developers. In my opinion. But I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a policy decision, really.
Right. Okay. Did anyone else have questions while we have the engineer here? For Ed? No.
Well, I'm just curious if Ed, I'm not sure if he was just involved in the application process or if he is aware of any attempts by the state to get involved in the properties that already have on the Rossi. Everybody's trying to demonize the state. And perhaps there are examples of that. I don't know. So if Ed knows, I'd love to hear that.
So
go ahead. You can hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my experience, Mayor, status quo typically doesn't have a big impact. It's when you want to do something that you have to go to them for approvals, and that's when they entertain. There are inspections that happen on a semi-regular basis. Those are typically not too egregious, but it's when you want to do something. If there's a need that you have that you want to do something is when normally they would interject. Sometimes there's
what doing something means a little more, like, I'm not clear, do you mean like make changes to the property, like if we needed to put a municipal sewer line, we couldn't put it across the property, or do we have to go for a hearing, or?
Yeah, things like that, changes to the property, once it's been put on there, are subject to the rules and regulations of the Green Acres program. And, to the discussion that we've had thus far, yes, it's a long document. So there's very specific things that you can and can't do, that they want to see, that they don't want to see. It's hard to offer a generic statement because until you know exactly what you're asking for, it's hard to give an answer to, can you do this or not?
But they do specific restrictions in the guidelines that everyone's been talking about.
Yeah, there are rules and regulations that talk about things that you can do, things you can't do. The one other thing, there is an application process, right, to do it officially, and we did this probably a year or so ago with the Bellhaven. There is a map, there's a Rossi map, that has to be amended. There's an application, you need to get sign off from the planning board. So there's a process. It's not, it's not just the clerk fills out an application. There's a little more to it than that. It's not a huge lift, but there is some effort required.
Steve had a question for you.
I apologize. I don't have a question.
Okay.
For the engineer.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for our engineer while we have him here? No. Okay, thank you, Ed.
Do you want me to hang around, Mayor, or are you good?
No, I think we're good. Well, actually, no, hang around, because we are gonna discuss it again when it comes up as a resolution, so just in case, if you don't mind,
Okay.
Ed, hanging around a little bit.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
I forgot to open it, but can I have a motion to close the public comment? Yes. I'm sorry, Steve, you had it. I'm sorry, we're gonna withdraw that. Can someone withdraw their motion? Just darn, if it wasn't seconded, then we're okay.
Stephen Heck, 135 Branch Avenue. Excuse me. It seems to me that there isn't anyone in this room, and I doubt that there are more than 2 or 3 people in town who do not want to protect this property. We already have an ordinance, I believe, or a resolution, I'm not sure which, going back, I think it was Councilmember Ballard who originally proposed it, that ensures that this land will remain open to all of us in town, and that we're going to value it and protect it. Now we have, I'm going to say, an almost universal wish to protect this land, whether we protect it as 2 pieces or 1 piece, or whatever. It's clear that we want to protect it. There seem to be 2 major ways of doing that. One is to go on the Rossi, and the other is to have a deed restriction on the land. It seems to me that a rational discussion and a decision with regard to policy going forward requires that each one of those alternatives be examined carefully and that some comparison be made. This means that, and that means this. And to do that, placing this in the night, in the dark of night onto the agenda doesn't satisfy anybody's wish to either protect the land or to know what the hell is going on. So my last concern would be, Mr. Mayor, are you free to tell us who placed this item on the agenda? And I would like to, and the reason I ask is because I want to ask that person to.
I'm gonna ask if I'm free, so hang on a second.
Well, it's a public meeting and it's a public agenda. So it seems to me that, or perhaps the person who placed it on the agenda would like to say so. I did that. Crickets.
I can say that I did not place it on the agenda.
I'm aware of that.
Right. But I'm.
Nobody has the integrity then to stand up and say they did it. Okay, whoever you are, think about whether you really want to do this. Is this your legacy? Or do you want to really examine it? We're all committed to the same thing. We want to protect this place. We're all committed. Is this the legacy you want, whoever you may be? Yes.
You know, Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace, everybody's talking about transparency. Well, where was the transparency when we could have fixed the senior center because it was 1 freaking sprinkler head for like $1,500? Where was the transparency when Shahadi told everybody, the DPW, to pull out all the pipes out of the ceiling? Where was the transparency? We didn't know about this. Now we're going back to the same kind of government with an authoritative borough administrator who can make these decisions. We don't know who it's going to be. We don't know if he's going to be transparent. But given the fact that Count Basie Park is, I think it's even a Green Acres funded park, Marine Park, all the ones that Linda said, and even Bellhaven is on the Rossi. What's the big deal? We're just trying to really protect it, and either it gets really protected or it gets put in borough control. And personally, I don't trust the borough. That's just my take on it. And I just think if people really want to protect it, then just go for the Rossi. What's the big deal? It's no big deal.
And from my perspective, putting a building on the Rossi is very different than just putting open green space on the Rossi. They seem.
We've got buildings at Count Basie.
Yes, you have a bathroom and a snack bar, I guess. Listen, I think that you're doing the opposite of, you're going to achieve the opposite of what your goal is, in my opinion.
Well,
The rush.
You know what?
Have you read the whole Rossi document?
no, but I've
Yeah.
been around here for 45 years and I've done property that's been put on the Rossi, and I talked to Green Acres a lot about Marine Park and the parking lot that you guys want to put on there, and which I don't think is in the best use of Marine Park, with the clay courts, putting a 65 space parking lot there. That's insane. So there you go. There's a perfect example of the borough doing something that's not good for a park. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Forrest?
Ben Forrest, 16 Locust Avenue. Some of us have been here through the whole senior citizen center saga. And while I celebrate that we reopened it and fixed it, I really am terribly upset that it wound up costing almost $2 million. I want to protect it. And hopefully I'll be alive and serving here soon. I will never vote to do anything there other than protect it for the use of the citizens of Red Bank. I love that senior center. It's the nicest senior center I've ever seen. I'm not an expert on land use regulations. I'm a little, Ed commented about it. I mean, I would like a more deliberate report from some sort of land use expert about what's the best way to do this. I don't like this last minute switcheroo changing thing. Is troubling. Although I want to protect that property. And I will fight, whether I'm on the council or not, to keep that land available. We don't have enough waterfront property available for the residents and people of Red Bank. I like having a dedicated senior center. It's a powerful addition to our community, and it was sorely missed. I plan to use it myself. And I'm very troubled by the rumors that there was some sort of secret plan to sell it or something like that. Now, no one in my presence has ever, privately or otherwise, said anything to me like that. And I certainly wouldn't run with anybody who said anything like that to me ever. So my running mates, as far as I know, and they've told me, have all supported having a senior center there, using that land and keeping it in perpetuity for access to our citizens. I really wish we'd fixed it in the first place. There's lots of blame to go around. I never got a satisfactory answer. And I've been here asking questions about this at that time, about exactly what happened, why things didn't get fixed, why a small problem turned into a catastrophic problem and just cascaded. It was a nightmare. That's my comment.
Thank you. I know we've had several people speak several times. One more, okay.
Just one quick question. Oh. Linda Hill, once again, 64 McLaren Street. Ben, thank you. Thank you, Ben, for pledging in public. I will remember that you will never support or you will never vote to take that property away from Red Bank's residents. I really appreciate that.
I will lie down in front of trucks.
Oh, don't do that, but thank you. I think we have 1, 2, 3 incoming council members, maybe they'd like to pledge that as well. I'd love to hear it.
Sure, they have no problem.
Great.
We'll pledge the same thing.
So you will not ever support taking that away. Oh, laugh if you want.
I think you're supposed to address this.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to trust the
Yeah, Linda, can we,
That's
right.
I asked the question, I was wanting to see if there was an answer. And not laughter or derision. What did he just say?
I didn't hear.
What did you just say?
Couldn't quite. Yeah.
You know, Mayor, I have witnessed meetings getting out of hand here. I've witnessed comments, like in the audience against other participants, residents. Not so much when somebody's sitting here. That's a new one for me, but
You literally turned around and addressed the audience.
I asked if they, and I turned around to count, and there are 3 in addition to Ben. That's what I did. So I really hope that the animosity and the derisiveness, especially towards our residents, is going to stop. And I hope that you put a stop to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any public comment? Motion to close the public comment? Can I have a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Seconded.
Literally, as somebody first did it, Mary Beth made it raised it.
All right. So now we have to, can I have a motion to reopen the public comment?
So moved.
And a second?
Second,
Okay.
And Mary Beth Maida, you have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Mary Beth Maida, 84 Branch Avenue. I'm very, very excited at the idea of the senior center being put on the Rossi. And I would just like to explain to people who don't quite understand the distrust that so many in town feel towards certain members of council is based on past behavior of certain members of council, where we had people at our rallies trying to save the center, going around, maybe not illegally, but certainly unethically, handing out campaign literature, blaming members of council for planning some kind of renegade rally, when in fact it was the people of the town who wanted to do this. And I would say that when you look at, the person on council who goes back to that time, that person has said over and over and over again that her entire modus operandi is to do what she's told. So I think that it's a really good thing to put it on the Rossi. I think what Cindy Burnham had to say was absolutely the right thing. There's no trust among some people in this town towards members of council because of the misrepresentation and the lies and the amount of money that they cost us. I agree with Ben Forrest. It should not have cost $2 million. We should have fixed it for a couple of thousand, I think, with the pipes. And then even if it got a little bit more involved, it didn't need to cost $2 million. As I said more than once, the idea that we have Pella windows in that place will be like my Rosebud moment, where one of the last things I'll probably ever say is Pella windows, really? We couldn't just go to Home Depot, whatever. It just seems to me that the purpose of all of that was to sell it. And no matter what anybody says, I did read an article, I believe it was from 2019, where Shahadi was talking about selling the senior center. We also had these preposterous plans that were drawn up, again, by friends of Shahadi, approved by the former majority, that drew up plans for Count Basie Park that could never be utilized or realized because we don't own that property. So the lack of trust is due to the actions of the former majority. Now we have a new majority coming in, and we're hearing a lot of platitudes about how it's going to be. I certainly hope that's true. But between now and the end of this government, I support putting this on the Rossi. And I would say the fact that certain people are so opposed to it is all the reason I need to believe that it's probably the best thing for Red Bank to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
Sure, I'll take that motion.
Can I have a second?
Time's a chart. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. Exactly, Rudy.
All right.
for the record, aye from Jacqueline Sturdivant.
Gotcha. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes and report? are the minutes from 5/31/2023.
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the department reports?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this first ordinance has been removed. Okay. Public hearing adoption, ordinance 2023-20. Ordinance of the Borough of Red Bank, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending and supplementing section 680-60, schedule 26, restricted parking for handicapped persons. I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have any comments on this ordinance? Is everyone clear what it is, by the way? All right. I believe it's amending, we placed another
handicap parking spot there for a resident.
For a resident that wanted it in front of their house, so. Have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-20?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Sturdivant,
Yes.
Councilmember Ziprich,
Yes.
and Councilmembers Trigiano, Morandi, and Ballard are excused. Motion passed.
Okay, we have a bunch of resolutions on the consent agenda. I'd like to, it looks like that, so two of them were added last minutes. One is the one we were just talking about, resolution 23-164. And the other one is 23-165, which is awarding the contract for the East Side Park.
Lead service lines.
I'm sorry, lead service replacement lines. That one, Chief, you want to, I think you would just put that.
So sure, it was added just for the purpose of transparency. It was added today because we only did the bid opening yesterday. Because of the bidding laws, we had to advertise it for a period of time. The rush to get it on today was that the iBank funding expires at the end of the month, the fiscal year for the state. It ends on June 30th. So if we don't have this approved and awarded tonight, we risk losing the 50% interest or principal forgiveness when the new year rolls over for the state. So the bids were open. The first lowest bidder actually requested to withdraw their bid this morning because they realized they made a fatal flaw in the pricing. We're not able to honor their bid. We then, after conferencing with our attorneys and the engineer, we selected the next lowest bidder, which was bidder number 2, Montana Construction. That's all I have, Mayor. The microphones went out over there and I started to do some IT work.
Were you trying to speak and they went out, or?
No, I think my side was okay. This side looks okay too.
From you over works, from here over doesn't.
Okay, but did you have something?
Those don't normally go out, Mayor. It's usually the Zoom mics that go out. I'm not sure what's going on with them. All right, try now, Councilman.
Yeah, the back.
Hang on.
Okay.
It's back.
Excuse me. I'm right back.
They're on. They're on. Yeah, they're back on. Thanks.
Could have told me that like 5 seconds there.
It's possible we just had too many.
They're out.
It's possible we had too many mics on at once.
Good. All right, so what I'd like to do is Let's, if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to do all of the resolutions on the consent agenda except the two ones that were added last minute. We'll do those separately.
Mayor, I'm gonna ask that, we back out 162 and 163 too, because I have an issue with one of those.
What's that?
162 and 163, we can do those with 64 and 65 separate.
Okay.
So make a motion on the consent agenda then from 146 through 161.
Okay. All right, so can I have a motion to approve on the consent agenda resolutions 23-146 through 161?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 23-162 and 163. Can I have a motion to approve those two resolutions? No?
And yeah, I'll so moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to have to recuse myself on the two licenses for the Count Basie and Two River Theater.
Okay. Motion 23-164.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
Again, it's not a roll call, it's just
Which one is
Voice
this?
vote.
Is this on?
the resolution for the Rossi.
But this one's.
What's that?
164.
No, we switched.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you,
You're right, go ahead, Mayor.
164 is the Rossi one, right? Okay. And again, this is just an all in favor vote, or is this a roll call?
Voice vote. It's a resolution.
Right, resolution. Are all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. 23-165, awarding the contract to Montana Construction for the water infrastructure upgrades. Can I have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And on 164, did we have a motion and a second floor?
Yeah, we
Yes.
have. Under discussion and action, do we have any special?
We did, they were included in the agenda packet. In the packet. Email. You want to come back to that? I'll go on.
Well, we're almost to the end of the thing. We'll get that done and then we'll do our mayor and council comments. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so, thank you. Special events for approval. This is what the special events committee would like the council to approve. The Lower Foundation 6K walk, Count Basie Park, Saturday, June 24th from 9 to noon. The Maury Place block party, Monday, July 3rd, from 3 to 11 p.m. The All for One and One for All football camp at Count Basie Field, Friday, July 7th, from 9 to 1. Hop Conlon Irish Wake, Saturday, September 30th at 2 p.m. Drag Queen Open Mic, Riverside Gardens Bar, Friday, June 30th, 6:30 to 8:30. Charity event at the Dublin House, Saturday, October 14th. And that's it. Anyone have any questions for any of those events? Can I have a motion to approve the special events?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, mayor and council comments. Jacqueline, do you have anything?
Mayor, no, I do not have any comments. Thank you.
Okay. John?
Just a quick reminder about Juneteenth, this Sunday. As we know, it's at Johnny Jazz Park, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The parade starts at 12:30. There'll be free food vendors, live music, etc. For more information, you can go to redbankjuneteenth.com. Please join us. It's a wonderful event. A great Red Bank event. Hopefully the weather will be on our side. Also,
Thanks, Mayor. Happy Flag Day, everybody. I would like to wish Council President Ballard a speedy recovery. I'm sure all of my colleagues wish him well as well. And I want everybody to congratulate DPU Director Terrence Walton. Terrence received the results of his Certified Public Works Manager licensing examination and passed with flying colors. He's the newest CPWM, and I know we're all very proud of his accomplishment. So congratulations to Terrence. Jackie and team opened the Senior Center on Friday night for the public and city members for a welcome back reception to the newly refurbished center at 80 Shrewsbury Avenue. It was very well attended. I was happy to see the mayor and my council colleagues present. The seniors are overjoyed. River Center and the River Center are promoting this weekend's Red Bank Classic 5K. If you haven't registered yet, please go to redbankclassic.com. The site is loaded with information about participation and sponsors. And then last but not least, I'd like to say farewell and thank you tonight. Thank you, Red Bank, for the honor of serving our community as council member for the past 15 years. It's been a privilege to be representing you here in Borough Hall. Since my election in 2008, I have fought hard for quality of life issues that affect each and every resident. In the beginning of my first term, I was proud to vote to appoint a new police chief in Steve McCarthy to remove the incinerator over at Sunset landfill and to acquire American Recovery and Reinvestment funding to rebuild our water treatment facilities and bring you cleaner, safer drinking water, which was a huge issue that year in the campaign. As I leave office, I'm pleased to have worked with the team to acquire additional funding through ARP and the state of New Jersey to replace our lead water service lines, which we voted on tonight. This will ensure that the town's water supply is even safer for generations to come. I'd like to thank my colleagues for their unwavering support of our senior center. Its grand reopening on Friday, June 10th was crowded with many excited seniors and borough staffers. Its revitalization is an accomplishment that we would not have achieved without Council President Ballard's tenacious team building and engagement of a passionate, caring community. Our efforts were rewarded and our beloved senior center was saved from demolition by neglect and the looming possibility of redevelopment. As I reflect on my 17 years of public service as a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, the Planning Board, and the Council, I am struck by both the challenges and the rewards I experienced. During my tenure, I am proud of the accomplishments above that I mentioned, as well as the rehabilitation of the water clarifier on Tower Hill, the creation of the Washington Street Historic District, and my role in saving both the Red Bank train station and the T. Thomas Fortune House. We weathered Superstorm Sandy and installed generators for future emergency uses. I managed to have the first electric vehicle charging station installed during the Monmouth Street Streetscape project and successfully lobbied to create additional parking at Borough Hall by raising the building next door. Where's Carl Morgan when I need him? During the pandemic, we created ways to support our downtown business community and honored our first responders and our hometown hospital heroes at Riverview Medical Center while we all donned masks. I am deeply appreciative of my partnership with the Count Basie Center for the Arts and its never wavering commitment to preserving and promoting culture in our community. The Basie acquired Bowtie Cinemas, Phoenix Production, Monmouth Conservatory of Music, and supports the Jazz Arts Project and produces the Basie Awards, recognizing high school theatrical productions. I'm grateful to have been part of the Red Bank Road Program, which ensures that we pave roads annually and address underground utility repairs. The council adopted a complete streets policy years back and completed a safe routes to school, bicycle, and pedestrian plan, and added a Share the Road Sharrows program to each newly resurfaced roadway. As the first openly gay elected official in Red Bank, it's fitting during this Pride Month to thank the electorate of Red Bank for placing their trust in me. Thank you for electing me 5 times over. It has been an honor to serve you all. Happy Pride. I would be remiss if I didn't thank President Obama and President Biden for their numerous Pride Month proclamations they bestowed on the borough each June during their administrations. It was my distinct honor to represent the borough of Red Bank at the White House, together with JP, celebrating Pride this past Saturday. Thank you to the department heads and the staffers over the years who have always kept Red Bank in the forefront as a model for New Jersey. And to the administration who executed the will of the mayors and council members for years before me. Lastly, thank you to my husband, JP Nicolaitis, our daughter and son-in-law for their support, encouragement, and advice all these years. My mother, who passed in November, always told me, be a leader, not a follower. I took her guidance seriously, and I'm proud to be leaving office with a series of accomplishments that helped make Red Bank the greatest town in New Jersey. I wish the new leaders taking office in July much success. Thank you, and good night.
Just a few things I want to say, and I think, are we going into executive session?
Yes, Mayor.
We are, okay, so, I just want to say a few things, then we'll open it up for public questions. I'm less concerned with the placing of the senior center on the Rossi than I am with the process. I think that this last minute addition to the agenda is just not the way we want to do things anymore. And I think when the new council, the incoming council ran for change, this is the change that we're talking about. We're just not going to do things this way anymore. It's secretive, it's not transparent. And I don't think it reflects the will of the voters of Red Bank. On a happier note, I went to an amazing 8th grade graduation yesterday for the middle school. Really honored to speak there and to see those kids so excited for their well-earned accomplishment. I will also be at the charter school graduation tomorrow. It was postponed because of some rain. And that has by far been the best part about being mayor, is getting out and attending the events and meeting residents. And letting them know that I'm available if they need anything. As I told the 8th grade students, just because you're kids, just because you're not adult, because you can't vote, I'm still your mayor, and I'm still available to let me know if you need anything. So, I have a motion to open up public comment.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anyone have any comments or questions?
So you're just going over a lot of great events on Blue Ridge, 105 East Bergen Place, and one that you didn't bring up and edit. I'm surprised you didn't, because you were so instrumental in T. Thomas Fortune culture. Thank you for everything that you did there. There's late night at Basie, June 16th from 6 to 9, which is tomorrow night, right? Or Friday night. So it's going to be a great night with a tribute album, resurrects the legendary orchestra leader and the great jazz musician. And it's going to be food, fun, and good music. You do have to register. There's an email, Chanel at T. Thomas Fortune Foundation.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace. I just want to make a comment regarding last minute things showing up on the agenda. This always happens. This is nothing new. This has been going on since the 80s. I can remember when Mayor Mena said, everything's got to be in by Thursday before the meeting. And things would show up an hour before the meeting on the agenda. This is no big deal. This stuff happens. And it's been happening, right? You don't know because you've never been to a meeting until you became mayor. But Chief, you know, things show up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy Dart, 48 West Sunset Avenue. I have a question. The street sweeper they had purchased years ago, it said it was to sweep and vacuum leaves. Is this thing still being down in the down the foot of Sunset? And the other question is, I want to know if it's operating, is it operable or not? Because if I'm just giving, it says that's a lot of money be thrown, taxpayers' money be thrown away. And I said, you have two out there doing every street. Because if you go around sometime, you hear from people, look around yourself, you see the trash. And I said, two will do the job very well around here. Every street should be touched, not one should be left alone. And you go down Shrewsbury Avenue, you don't have to have glasses on to see the stuff, nails, screws and stuff. And I said, it's really sad to see when you live it, it's terrible. You go somewhere else, but you come home, you say, God, look at this stuff all over the place. And I just want to know if this street sweeper down there is still down there and what's wrong with it. Because sooner or later, like I said, if you don't conk it up or start it up, it's going, when you do turn it on, it's going to just fall apart. So that's the major question. I just want to know if it's still down the foot of Sunset. And I want to say this, it's like you put it in a museum, just let it sit there and collect dust and cobwebs.
Do we know?
I'm honestly not sure which sweeper you're talking about. We have a sweeper that's operational. I don't know if there's more than one.
It's one more, it's a box with a box on the back.
That, I believe there is one that has some mechanical issues and the other one is working, but I'm not sure what the status of the one that's broken is. I do know I just approved the requisition this week to make repairs to a sweeper, but I don't know which one it was.
But they don't know, because I was just wondering, because every time you go down, you drop your recycles off down there, you're always gonna look over there and say, God, this thing's been sitting there, just sitting there. When is they gonna bring it out of retirement and put it back to use? And I'm saying it would make the place more cleaner, and you won't see trash everywhere. And I said, then you won't waste taxpayer money, but as long as you let it sit there, the more you're gonna have to put back into it to conk it up. And I think it should be open to the town taxpayers, how much it's gonna cost to really put this to work. But when I'm gathering over time, it was missing a screw and all this and that. And I said, well, when is it gonna be put back on the road again? But I never, I'm gonna say it like this, I never was given an honest answer about this. And every time I go down there, there's people over there and say, well, still there. When is it gonna be put back on the road again? Thank you.
I'll look into it, Jimmy.
No, thank you, I appreciate it.
Chief Mayor, if I might, I recall that we auctioned one sweeper off. I think it was an Elgin sweeper because it had serious mechanical issues.
That's correct. I'm just not sure if it's the same one Jimmy's talking about, but that we did auction one off a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but the one that is operational is on the street.
The one that's operational is operational.
Circle by today.
It does need, right, it is on the road, but it does need repairs.
And there's another one that's still sitting there at Sunset.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but I'll try. That we do.
I was gonna say, I hope, somebody would, would just check this out. Thank you.
The new one's worse.
Yeah.
Freddie Moore, box 2074. Just want to address just something, Mayor. Several times I've been to this council meeting, and I have seen people use vanity language at people. Nobody said nothing about that. Nobody said nothing. So when the shoe is on the other foot, then everybody wants to say something. So it need to stop on both sides. The other thing is, last council meeting, there were some names mentioned who've been attending the council meeting for a long time. It was 3 people in here, very insulting. Linda, Jimmy, and Ethel. I've been coming to council meeting ever since 1972, 73. 32 Mama Street, don't bother me. They've been coming ever since Jack Amici, Janet Beck, and John Curry have been a council. So do your homework before you get up here and start mentioning names. The other thing is the Boys and Girls Club. It's so filthy around there. How come that can't be clean? Sweet, you could send a blower out there, blow that stuff from around there. It's nasty around there. And you got these people's riding around in these trucks. They don't see this. What's these new trucks got? vines in them that they just focus straight ahead. I walked the other day, took pictures of the little lockers on Shrewsbury Avenue and Bridge Avenue. It's just scary. I sent some to the mayor, some to the councilmen. And for these trucks to ride around, they could put 3 containers, garbage containers on them trucks and dump them little locks when they see them like that. I done it when I was a foreman. Took care of it. That was my town. I was concerned about this town. These people now who's in the office and got these positions, they're looking for money and to go home. I went down before the sunset. They say they was doing last council meeting, doing work down there. Down there Monday, ain't nothing moving down there. They're not even taking the bottles and cans out. They said they was gonna be doing that. They're not doing that. So why is it closed? It shouldn't be closed. It should be open to the public. It should be open 6 days a week. That's what the taxpayers pay for, 6 days. When they don't open it, what other workers doing? They sure not riding, I mean, they riding around in the new trucks. They don't want to put nothing on them. Y'all got a purchase orders up there to Napa. Maybe y'all need to get polish the trucks while they riding around. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else?
We have one online, Mayor.
Okay.
Mary Beth Maida, you can unmute, you have the floor.
Yes, good evening again, Mary Beth Maida, 84 Branch Avenue. I really wanted to call and say something else, but I just had to comment on the outright hilarity of listening to our sitting mayor talk about the transparency that he wants to operate under in the town when he overturned an ordinance for like the first time in history via press release to a guy in Asbury Park. And the only person on council who knew about it, not only on council, but the entire administration in the town, was his buddy Kate. So that's what I call real transparency. That's real integrity. That's what we're talking about. I can't wait to see what the new world order looks like here in Red Bank. But that's not really why I called. I just wanted to point out that, again, the hypocrisy is there. I could see why you ran the campaign you did. Anyway, I really wanted to call and say, Ed Zipprich, you are a man among men. The look, the feel, the vibe of Red Bank is in part, or in no small part, due to the work that you've done. The train station, the historic district, the streets, the work that you've done across the board, and you have done it in the face of such unrelenting attacks and anger and lies and misleading information from people who you not only helped get elected more than once, but from people who we all thought were our friends. And I don't actually know what went down, except that power is a weird thing. And I guess some power just corrupts people completely, and we can see that. But I personally want to thank you for everything that you've done for the town. I think you're terrific. I know your mom's proud of you. I know all of your friends are super proud of you. I'm grateful to you for what you did. And I respect the fact that you never, ever, ever got into the gutter like so many people wanted to in order to take you down. You've held your head high. I knew your dad a little bit. I knew your mom a lot. I know they're super proud of you. I know you represent the best in them. And I am very proud to call you and JP my friend. I look forward to the time that we have now, not dealing with so much of this. I'm really sorry about where the town is heading because I don't think it's heading in a good direction under the new leadership. But hopefully it'll work out, as you said, Ed. I wish them all the best. But what I mostly wish is for your continued success. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you did for Red Bank. It was a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else have public comment or questions? Can I have a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're not going to adjourn because we have to go into executive session, so I'm just.
Well, we are going to adjourn.
I'm sorry, we are going to adjourn.
Excuse me, Mayor, we have to go into executive session for personnel and a grievance matter. I don't believe they'll be returning for any official action.
Okay. So then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
And then we're gonna have to.
Yeah, we'll take 5 minutes then.
Yeah, Councilwoman Sturtevant, unfortunately, you're gonna have to log off and log back on so that otherwise I can't really clear this public meeting out on Zoom.
That's fine, Chief. I'll zoom back on.
If you can't get in, I'll send you a new link in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you.